Hello, everyone. Happy National Poetry Month. Speaking of poetry, before we get into today's video, as always, obligatory self promotion. What If I Ruled the World? Poems inspired by music. My poetry book. If you would like to read poetry this poetry month, back at that thing. I know we're supposed to be boycotting Amazon. I have not really been successful, mainly because me and my family all use my Amazon. So there's that. And my book is on Amazon. Now, if you're not buying anything else on Amazon, it would mean a lot if you haven't already bought my book and read it, checked it out. As far as I know, I don't think I've gotten any reviews on my book, so that would be nice. Yeah, now. But anyway, we're here to talk about a different book, which I'm going to, this is my cue to my editing self, insert a picture of Nikki Giovanni's Make Me Rain, which is technically a poetry and prose book, and I listened to the audiobook version, which is very different. This is the second poetry book audiobook I've listened to. The other one was Maya Angelou's Celebrations. That one was a lot shorter. That was nice. But this one wasn't that long either. I think it was only 2 hours. I think. So, you know what? I have not even put up my notes. So I pulled up all the poems I want to read. But let me get my notes up, which should be right here. Here we go. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Nikki Giovanni, and then we're going to read some poems, and then we're going to go over my pros and my cons of the audiobook. All right. So she was born in 1943. She was a poet, activist, mother, grandmother, and educator. Grew up in Tennessee and Ohio, and graduated from honors from Fisk University in Nashville. The author of over 30 books, she was also the recipient of the of 7 NAACP Image Awards, the Langston Hughes Medal for Outstanding Poetry, as well as 31 honorary degrees and an Emmy Award. This might be from like the book website, so I don't have anything too specific. She garnered her most unusual honor in 2007 when a South American bat species, oh my, I cannot say this name, Microne Cetris Giovanni Vanier was named in celebration of her. Interesting to have a bat named after you, which I know I definitely said the name wrong, but you can look it up. A devoted teacher and honorary member of the Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Inc. I didn't know you can be an honorary soror. That's really interesting. She spent 35 years at the university, as a university distinguished professor of English at Virginia Tech in Blacksburg, Virginia, and she passed away just last year. I don't have the exact date on my notes, but 2024, so she just passed away. This book came out October 20th, 2020. I want to say, don't quote me on this. This might have been the last book she published, but like I said, don't quote me on that. Okay, the synopsis is for the book. In Make Me Rain, she celebrates her loved ones and unapologetically declares her pride in her Black heritage while exploring the enduring impact of the twin sins of racism and white nationalism. Giovanni reforms her place as a uniquely vibrant and relevant American voice with poems such as I Came from Athletes and Rainy Days, calling out segregation and Donald Trump, as well as Unloved for Aunt Cleoto, and When I Could No Longer, her personal elegy for a relative who saved her from an abusive home life. Stirring, provocative, and resonant, the poems that make me rain pierce the heart and nourish the soul. So that's the synopsis. And I'm going to read some poems. And then I'm going to talk about what I thought about the book. So I'm going to read the title poem, of course, which, if you've been following me on TikTok, I've been writing my own versions of my own poems inspired by the title poem. So here it is. Make Me Rain. Make me rain, turn me into a snowflake, let me rest on your tongue, make me a piece of ice so I can cool you, let me be the cloud that embraces you, or the quilt that gets you dry. Snuggle close, listen to me sing, on the wind still, make me rain. Make me rain on you. So I'm not the best reader, as you can tell. But yeah, I love that one. It's really good. And then the next one, I love when she writes like food related poems because she's like very passionate about food. And I love it. So this one's called No Pancakes Please. And Make Me Rain and No Pancakes Please are some of my favorite poems on in the book. And these are going to be the like lighter ones because I do want to read one or two that are a little heavier in theme. No pancakes, please. I don't like pancakes or waffles, though I will sometimes eat a biscuit or a roll. I don't like French toast, or for that matter, American toast, or break smashing things between two pieces. I think doughy things are an abomination, and I would starve to death before I eat Kentucky Fried Chicken. I know no white man on earth ever fried chicken. I love that line. It's so funny. I refuse to eat a lie, but I understand I have to. I have to do some things, so I hope it is green. Please make me rain, so I can be a weed that something will find useful. Maybe be a mathematician, or maybe a poet, or maybe just a star at night, guiding wise folks to Bethlehem. So yeah, those are two of the like lighter ones that I wanted to talk about. Another one that I thought was really important to talk about was her poem called Vote, which I feel like is really important with the political climate that we have. It is important to vote. And I know last election was kind of a mess because some people were like, oh, they don't want to vote at all. They don't want to, at least if you did your civic duty, you can be like, hey, I did what I had to do. So this poem's called Vote. It's not a hug, nor a mistletoe at Christmas. It's not a colored egg at Easter, nor a bunny hopping across the meadow. It's a vote, saying you are a citizen, though it sometimes is chocolate or sometimes vanilla. It could be female or a male. It is right or left. I can agree or disagree, but this isn't this isn't important, but I am a citizen. I should be able to vote from prison. I should be able to vote from the battlefield. I should be able to vote when I get a driver's license. I should be able to vote when I purchase a gun. I must be able to vote if I'm in the hospital, if I'm in an old folks' home, if I'm needing a ride to the polling place. I am a citizen. I must be able to vote. Folks were lynched. Folks were shot. Folks' communities were gerrymandered. Folks who believed in the Constitution were lied to, burned out, bought and sold because they agreed all men were created equal. Folks vote to make us free. It's not cookies nor cake, but it is icing that is so sweet. Good for the folks, good for us. So I feel like that's really important to, yeah, keep your vote. No matter who's in office, no matter what the outcome is, at least you did vote so you can say, hey, I did my civic duty, especially black and brown people, especially black people. I'm going to go ahead and say it because I'm black. So, our ancestors went through so much just for us to be able to vote. And we need to exercise the right. I know, whatever happens, it's not going to satisfy everyone. But like I said, at least you could say you did it. And there are so many people who, like I said, have sacrificed, who died, who were, they had dogs sicked on them, fire hoses, all these things for us to be able to vote. So, do I want to end on that one? Because there's another one. Oh, this one's kind of long. But there's one called 1619 Jamestown, and it's very intense. It's about slavery. I don't know if I want to go down that far for the last poem. But there's another one that I like called A Query going to end this poetry reading on a lighter note. A query. I want to know what song Jesus sang while he waited on the cross to die. I want to know what the soldier heard when he didn't hear anything anymore. What song did Jesus sing that asked his father for rest? And why did his father send a sword by a stranger to let the river flow? I'm so glad I'm black because we know there is salvation. So it's kind of in the middle. I mean, it's still a little sad, but I don't think it's as intense as Vote. But still, it's a really interesting poem to like think about, like what Jesus went through. You can kind of see the cover a little bit, but I'm still gonna insert the picture earlier. So let's get into my notes of what I thought of the book. Listening to a poetry audiobook is so uh it's very interesting because it's not something I'm very like used to. Usually I'm holding the book, you know what I mean, and reading the words. So it's really different. But we're gonna talk about that. But I'm gonna get to my pros and my cons and my overall opinion. I love hearing the author's voice and like hearing their poems. I'm actually gonna am I gonna combine these 2 points? I'm not gonna combine them. But I love hearing the author's voice and hearing how actually I was just about to combine them. I'm gonna combine them. I love hearing the poet's voice and hearing them actually read their poems. I love that because and then another thing is how the poem is supposed to be read out loud, where the breaks are, even though technically, the lines are supposed to be breaks in between them, like you're supposed to take a breath. But anyway, but you can hear how they enunciate certain things and they say certain things that they want to stand out, and how they want their poem to be read. And I really love that. That's really great. Um, and then there's a podcast at the end where they interview Nikki Giovanni. It's in the pros and cons, but for different reasons. So it's in the pros because I love Nikki Giovanni's answers to their questions, and she was very insightful, and um, she answered the questions very well, and talked about her impact and her politicism and her life, and it was really nice to hear her talk about her life. Them, the 2 podcast hosts, not so much. But those are my pros. Which I have more pros than cons. So I have 2 cons. First con, obviously, I can't see the words. So you kind of just have to like retain it in your mind. And as I was, because I wasn't sure if I was going to review this book, but I was like, you know what? It's something different for me. I never reviewed an audiobook, so I might as well try something new. So as I was listening, I was also looking up some of the poems to like read during the video. And so you can find some online, but I definitely will buy the book at some point because they do have physical copies. And then you can go back and reread it. And I mean, unless I bought the audiobook, or if I have like an Audible, which I don't, I just use the library app. I use Libby. So it's not like I can keep the copy that I have forever and just keep listening to it. That's one thing that is different for an audiobook, unless you get like those CD audiobooks. I don't know. I don't even know if they still make those, but I know they have them at the library because my dad's ex-fiance, she used to put them in her CD player and like listen in her car. So I mean, that could be an option, but who listening to CDs now? Not many people. Even though I have CDs, of course, but I don't know. I don't have like easy. I guess I have my DVD player. I could play some stuff, but for the most part, nobody's really playing the CDs. So unless you have some kind of option where you can buy, which if you have like an Audible or like any kind of streaming type of thing like that, are you really buying them? Are they really yours? That's probably my question of how you can really get audiobooks. I don't know if it's the same as music, but they can just delete it if they want because it's not really yours. Like if you're a streaming service, even if you buy the albums. Like I remember I bought Lemonade on iTunes, but I couldn't play Pray You Catch Me because it wasn't available in my country, even though I bought the entire album from iTunes. It was crazy. But luckily, that's been fixed because I was like, what in the world is this? I bought the album, but really, do you really buy anything that's not physical? Not really. So there's that. um, And then my second con was the interview podcast at the end. Nikki was fine, but the hosts were like, I didn't know they were going to play the whole entire episode because before she came on, they were like a rambling, and they didn't really seem like they knew much about her, and that really bothered me because like, how are you interviewing someone and you don't know certain things about them? They were like, oh, we don't know. Oh, she seems really political. I wonder if she did this. I wonder if she did that. You can look that up before she comes for the interview. That really annoyed me. They did get it together when she came on. Like they were kind of rambling in the beginning, and I was like, okay, what's going on? I was a little bored. I'm not gonna lie to you. But when she came on, they had their questions. They had good questions. I was a little nervous because they didn't sound black, and I looked them up. I think they're both white, and I was a little nervous about what they was gonna ask her because I'm like, yeah, I ain't do no research on her political background or anything, and so what are y'all about to ask her? But I think they did a good job from what I can remember. But yeah, those are my cons. So here's my overall opinion. I loved hearing her voice read her own poems. Still very different from me to not be able to read the words from the poetry book. Although I saw someone say they listen to audiobooks and read the book at the same time, and I'm like, just read the book. But I guess that is an option if you wanted to. I hated the podcast interview at the end, however, because the two hosts rambled so much before the interview and they didn't seem to know much about her beforehand. I said that. They just did like a surface level lookup of Nikki, and it was like a disservice to her legacy to me. Otherwise, very powerful and wonderful book of poetry and prose. Would definitely buy the physical book at some point. I already mentioned that. I loved hearing how her poems should be read in her voice and delivery. I'm gonna give this book a 10 out of 10 because I love Nikki Giovanni so much. I'm not really counting the interview against her. I mean, the interview part with her was good. Before that was not good. But yeah. And so I read some of my favorite poems, but I definitely had a lot more. So that would have been neat to like see all the poems, but it was a different experience for me. And of course, National Poetry Month, I gotta write a poem. I'm gonna be honest, I was a little lazy, so I just did like a general poem to Nikki Giovanni. And it's called Ode to Nikki. So that was my second ode poem I've ever written. It's very short, but I hope you all enjoy it. Here it goes. Poet, writer, activist, mother, teacher, scholar, brilliant, vulnerable, witty, powerful. You were truly one of one, and you made me so happy. You made so many people happy. So this is your poem. So yeah. She has a poem called My House, and at the end she says, you make me happy, so this is your poem. So I thought that would be cool to add that at the end because that's my favorite poem by her, and I love it so much. And I have my own version. I'm pretty sure it's in the book. Let me check. I don't think I have a table of contents in this book, y'all. But I am 100% sure it is. It should be like the second poem. No, it's actually the first poem in the book. So yeah, if you wanna, I feel like I might have read this before, but if you would like to read it, it's literally the first poem in my book. Check it out. And I think I've read it online before, so it's somewhere on my account. It's called Honey Sop, which is like a pet name, like Babe or Baby, but like a really old pet name from like the 40s. I don't know. I just thought it was funny and cute, so called my poem Honey Sop. So yeah, do you like Nikki Giovanni? Do you love her like I do? Is she your favorite poet as well? Let me know. Please always like, comment, subscribe, and read poetry this month for Poetry Month. And it's also National Black Women's History Month. So I started with the Black woman, so that was good. And I'm also going to read another poetry book by another Black woman. So that'll work out good. I'm trying to read like some really unique books and like do different things this month because these are like poetry books that are like different than I've ever read before. So yeah, as always, I will see you all next month. Next month. Next week. My brain's not working today, y'all. I'll see y'all next week.